You know, we all kind of picture progress as this straight line, right? Always moving up. But what if that's not the whole story? What if some of the most brilliant, game-changing ideas in history didn't just fail or fade away? What if someone made them disappear? Join me as we uncover the stories of 10 inventions that could have changed the world, but were erased instead.
They poisoned me. These were the final words of Stanley Meyer, an inventor who claimed his car could run on plain old water. Imagine that. He had just finished a toast with potential investors at a restaurant when he collapsed in the parking lot. The official cause of death? A brain aneurysm. But his family, and a lot of other people, have never bought it.
And here's the crazy part. Meyer's story isn't a one-off, not by a long shot. Once you start digging, you find this really disturbing pattern. So that brings us to the big question for today. What if these incredible breakthroughs were suppressed precisely because they worked too well? Let's dive in and look at the evidence.
All right, first up, let's talk about energy. I want you to just imagine for a second a world with totally free wireless power, or cars that run on water. This isn't science fiction, folks. These were actual working prototypes that threatened to pull the plug on the entire energy economy.
Okay, look at this thing. This is the Wardenclyffe Tower, Nikola Tesla's absolutely magnificent, incredibly daring project. And get this, it wasn't just for sending messages. No. Tesla's real goal, his grand vision, was to transmit electrical power right through the Earth itself, wirelessly, to anyone on the planet, for free. And that brings us to the one question that killed the whole dream. When his funder, the legendary financier J.P. Morgan, finally understood Tesla's plan, he asked one simple, devastating question. Where do we put the meter? See, he realized there was no way to charge for it, so he pulled his funding, just like that. The tower was torn down for scrap, and Tesla's dream of a world without power lines, it died right there.
And Tesla was far from alone. You've got Stanley Meyer's water-powered car, a supposed vacuum engine that could run forever, a motor powered only by magnets. I mean, come on. In every single case, the story ends pretty much the same way. A mysterious death, a suspicious fire, or just complete financial and scientific stonewalling. You're starting to see a pattern here, right?
Now, this pattern isn't just about some wild new energy source. Sometimes an invention gets buried not because it's dangerous, but because, well, it's just too good. It's so perfect, it completely breaks the business model of selling you the same thing over and over and over again.
There's actually a name for this: planned obsolescence. It's the whole reason your phone starts to feel sluggish right after a new one comes out, or why your dishwasher dies the day after the warranty expires. And, the most shocking early example of this has to do with something you use every single day: a simple light bulb.
This is what's so fascinating. Check this out. In a fire station out in California, there's a light bulb, the Centennial bulb, that was installed in 1901. And guess what? It is still burning today. So we clearly knew how to make things that last. But then, in 1924, the world's biggest light bulb manufacturers got together and secretly formed something called the Phoebus Cartel. Their one and only goal: to deliberately engineer light bulbs that would burn out.
They came up with an artificial limit: 1,000 hours. That's it. If any engineer submitted a bulb that lasted longer, they were actually punished. So overnight, a product that could literally last a lifetime now had to be replaced every few months. Profits went through the roof, and a perfect piece of technology was basically erased from our collective memory.
And believe it or not, this exact same logic played out decades later with the EV1. Back in 1996, General Motors rolled out the world's first mass-produced electric car. I mean, it was sleek, it was silent, people who drove them loved them. It felt like the future had finally arrived. And what did GM do? They systematically tracked down every single one and crushed them into pancakes. So the official story they gave was lack of consumer demand. But the reality? There were waiting lists to get one. They said the maintenance costs were too high. But electric cars need way less maintenance than gas cars. And that, right there, was the real problem. See, an EV threatened everything: gas sales, spare parts, the whole dealership repair model. So the EV1 didn't just fail, it was executed.
And then you've got the infinite battery. Seriously, in 1973, an inventor named Carl Kordesh created a battery that could reliably last for 50 years. When he showed it to a potential corporate partner, the executive's response tells you everything you need to know. He said, "This would last longer than any of our products. That's not sustainable for us." And boom, the project was shelved. Perfection, once again, was the problem. And this brings us to our final and honestly
maybe the most tragic category. These are the inventions that didn't just promise to make our lives easier, they promised to solve some of humanity's biggest, most terrifying crises, from pollution to incurable diseases.
So, in the 1990s, a group of former military scientists over in Poland developed a device that could literally take pollution apart. It didn't just filter the air, it actually broke down toxic chemicals, viruses, and pollutants at the molecular level, leaving nothing but clean air behind. It was a total solution to air pollution.
And the backlash was immediate and, frankly, terrifying. The lead engineer, he was interrogated. Shipments of the new units just vanished. Funding contracts were suddenly pulled out of nowhere. And then, the final nail in the coffin. A corporate syndicate with deep ties to HVAC and chemical companies bought the whole technology and just buried it. The key to clean air for everyone was locked away.
Meanwhile, down in Brazil, there was this machine called Project Gaia. And get this, it was turning regular household garbage, we're talking plastic bottles, food scraps, whatever, into clean gasoline. And it was 80% efficient. It solved the waste problem and the energy problem in one go. But then, just 2 months after a positive news story came out about it, officials raided the facility, confiscated all the machinery, and the inventors basically vanished from public life.
And maybe the most chilling story of all is the Neuroscope. This was a device that could scan a person's biofrequencies and detect diseases like cancer and Parkinson's before a single symptom ever appeared. This was a complete revolution in preventative medicine.
And again, it was one question that sealed its fate. After seeing a demo, a pharmaceutical executive asked, "If a device works, why would anyone need routine screenings?" Think about that. Why would the multi-trillion-dollar industry of screenings, tests, and treatments be necessary if you could catch a disease at its absolute earliest stage? Just weeks later, the project's license was suspended, their servers were seized, and the technology disappeared.
So when you start putting all these stories together, what looks like a random collection of bad luck and failed ideas, it becomes something else entirely. It becomes a clear, methodical pattern of suppression.
Just look at the tactics. They're pretty much the same every time. Patents and prototypes get seized. Funding gets mysteriously pulled. Labs have accidents and catch fire. The teams are broken up and intimidated. And the inventors themselves are either smeared in the press, or they just disappear. This isn't a coincidence, people. This is a playbook.
And this really gets to the heart of it all. The tragedy here isn't that these technologies failed. The tragedy is that they worked. They were successful revolutions. They offered solutions so complete, so total, that they threatened the very foundation of entire industries. I mean, energy without meters, products that never need replacing, cures instead of continuous treatment. In our world, it seems those ideas were just too dangerous to exist.
So it leaves us with this really profound and, frankly, unsettling question. If these are just the 10 stories that we know about, how many others are out there? What kind of world did we lose out on? What other futures were erased before we even knew they were possible?
So, what do you think? Is there some incredible invention you've heard about that just mysteriously disappeared? Let us know down in the comments. And hey, if you want more explainers that really dig deep into the stories that secretly shape our world, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe. Thanks for watching.